In the small, forgotten town of Eldridge Hollow, nestled between dense woods and steep hills, there stood an old, decrepit house known as the Blackwood Manor. For decades, the townsfolk whispered about the strange occurrences that plagued the mansion. Children dared each other to approach it, but none were ever brave enough to cross its rotting threshold. It was said that on moonless nights, you could hear the echoes of faint whispers carried by the wind, voices that beckoned, pleaded, and sometimes even screamed. One chilly autumn evening, a group of curious teenagers decided to investigate the manor, determined to uncover the truth behind the haunting rumors. Led by Sarah, a fearless girl with a penchant for adventure, they set off armed with flashlights and a healthy dose of bravado. As they approached the manor, its silhouette loomed against the darkening sky, and the air grew colder. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the scent of mildew hung heavily. The group ventured through the crumbling rooms, their flashlights casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. Sarah, emboldened by her friends' laughter, urged them further into the house. "It's just an old building," she declared, though her heart raced in her chest. As they moved deeper into the manor, they stumbled upon a grand library filled with old, leather-bound books. On a pedestal stood an ancient tome with yellowing pages. Sarah reached out to touch it, but as her fingers brushed against the cover, a sudden chill swept through the room. The lights flickered, and an unsettling silence enveloped them. The whispers began, soft at first like the rustling of leaves, then growing louder, words unintelligible but laced with despair. "Did you hear that?" whispered Mark, a boy with wide eyes. "It sounds like someone is trying to talk to us." Suddenly the whispers coalesced into a cacophony of voices, each pleading, each warning. "Get out! Leave while you can!" echoed the noise, reverberating off the walls. Panic surged among the teens. They turned to flee, but the door through which they had entered had vanished, replaced by a solid wall. "Sarah, what did you do?" Elise shouted, her voice tinged with terror. "I didn't do anything," Sarah replied, her bravado crumbling. In their desperation, they searched for another way out, but every doorway and window seemed to mock them, disappearing into the shadows that thickened around them. The whispers morphed into anguished wails, and from the corners of the room the shadows twisted and writhed, forming indistinct shapes. The energy in the air shifted. Something malevolent lurked just beyond their sight, an unseen force that thrived on their fear. Driven by a primal instinct, the group scattered, certain that safety lay in separation. But the shadows chased them, swift and unfathomable, each teen encountering their worst nightmares hidden within the dark corners of the house. Mark found himself ensnared in visions of his past mistakes, while Elise confronted the ghostly apparition of a childhood friend lost in a tragic accident. One by one, they fell, ensnared by the very fears they had long left behind. Sarah, realizing she was alone, stumbled back to the library, desperate and breathless. The tome pulsed with an otherworldly light, and the whispers crescendoed into a piercing scream. She snatched the book from the pedestal, hoping it held the key to escape. As she opened it, the words seemed to writhe on the page. Shifting in a language she couldn't comprehend, the shadows closed in, desperate to snatch the book from her hands. "Please," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "I just want to go home." In an instant, the whispers fell silent, and the shadows retreated momentarily, revealing a single line on the page illuminated by a flicker of light. "To break the curse, one must take their place among the lost." With a heavy heart, Sarah understood. The only way for her friends to escape was for her to sacrifice herself. She closed her eyes, whispered her friends' names, and made her choice. As she stepped into the depths of the shadows, a wave of freezing cold enveloped her, and the whispers swirled around her, welcoming her into their fold. The next morning, the townsfolk found Blackwood Manor standing silent once again. The teenagers were never seen again, but the whispers carried on, drifting through Eldridge Hollow like a haunting melody, forever reminding the town of the brave souls who ventured too far into the darkness. From time to time, a new whisper would join the chorus, echoing the names of those lost to the shadows, waiting for the next curious heart to venture within.